the manner in which we came of writing stories is just something I will share with you, because I think it's an aspect of craft which really helps, because to me always the great bugaboo is the outline, is that moment of outline. You know, when the world is full of possibility and the choices are infinite, how do you know what to write down? And I'll just suggest to you something that's in some sense wedded to the word processor, which changed a lot for us as we began writing, because it's so fluid. We called them, it was talking about obligatory scenes. And I'll just do it for instance. You know, if a story is about a man buying a dog, then the obligatory scenes begin to suggest themselves. There is the scene when the man sees another dog, or some way to dramatize his desire, or meets someone else with a dog, or he comes across some moment that evokes the fact that he had a dog in the past, something that plants that wellspring of desire. There is the scene, the obligatory scene, when he goes to look for dogs, perhaps to buy one, perhaps not. That could become a scene or a sequence. There's the scene when he buys the dog. There's the scene when he brings the dog home. There's the scene when the dog first shits on the rug, you know, and there's the scene eventually when somehow man and beast become reconciled as a unit. All right, now I've just told you a story, and the way that I've told you the story is only by imagining what is obligatory in that story. The same is true in a story about a divorce, a story about a bank robbery. Now, once you've got those obligatory things, and they could be as short as a sentence, what you can then do, you see, because of the computer, because of the miracle of the computer, you can spread them. You can attach those obligatory beats of plot, if you will, to a story of some very different import. This could be the story of a man getting over the death of a child, and therefore somehow with some compensation. This is crude, you know, forgive me, but the fact is those obligatory beats could then, in the telling, be telling something else simultaneously. And you could tell them comedically. You could tell them in the guise of a genre suspense movie, any number of things. But the point is the commingling or grafting of storytelling was always helped for me by the notion of trying to understand what is obligatory. Because then, if your structure is a 4-act structure or a 3-act feature structure or whatever it is, those obligatory beats start to tell you what the shape of the story is as you spread them out and you put them into a 1st-act formula, the 2nd act. And what they also give you is the thing that screenplays so often woefully lack, is narrative thrust. The way that each scene needs to follow the one that precedes it, because you have thought that through in a logical progression. It just tends to orient your thinking toward that. Now, if you want to make it more symphonic and add counterpoint to it, you can run another story that is resonant of that and structure it with the same number of obligatory beats and begin to weave them into a strand or a tapestry. And then the happiest moments, of course, are when those things come together and a scene doesn't do just one thing or 2 things, but it does 3. Where the scene about, if the resonant plot was, oh God, I'll just be arbitrary. It's
well, a lot of it's unconscious. That's the great part about it. The thing about, you know, hiring a babysitter.
Right.
A lot of these things happen just as you explore metaphor and image systems. You're doing the work.
That's right.
On a subconscious level, and what you pick is going to resonate.
That's right.
Because you picked it, and you'll find ways.
And when those plots come together in a scene where the man goes with his dog to the park, and there's another person there who somehow is important to this other resonant plot, and at that same time, there's some epiphany in his life about the deepest and most profound, you know, subtextual plot, then you really have something crackling, because all those seams will be hidden. You know, I mean, the seams of structure that that it's kind of like you know, sheetrock. When you build, first you put the sheetrock on, and then you anchor it, but then you've got to mud it and cover over the seams before you paint. That's what this accomplishes, I think, is that kind of that gives it that flowing and seamless quality. And I just suggest to you that what we were juggling in the episode that I showed before was yes, it's a sitcom scene about is there not a Santa Claus, but in that sitcom scene, the resolution, that being the resolution scene, is also this unrealistic resolution of a relationship between a husband and a wife and a child, that then juxtaposed to the scene that preceded it, where you see that their resolution is unhappy, which then makes a comment about the nature of the plot that you've just seen. See, you know, Eisenstein was not kidding when he talked about juxtaposition, and it's not just true in terms of juxtaposition of image. It's juxtaposition of scene. You know, it happens when you do a cut of a movie. By changing the order of the scene, you create a third thing, which is that scene, that which exists in the cut between one scene and the next, how they juxtapose against each other. That's what makes storytelling active rather than passive. When you have a scene and it is complete unto itself, and it is then that cut to the next scene, whatever it is, creates another hidden scene, which is the transition. You know, the most obvious is which has become cliched, is the woman saying, "No, I won't go out with him. I won't go out with him. I never, ever will." And you cut, and then they're kissing, or you know, then they're on a date. That is a transition that makes a statement unto itself, and rather than allow the audience to sit back after a scene, in other words, this scene is done, it's over, we'll just sit back. It then makes you sit forward, because if you're being given something in between the scenes, which I think is a very important sort of technique in terms of narrative too.